So let's see. It should be live now on LinkedIn. Just gonna make sure that it actually goes out there now. So let us see.
Thing is, we always have that 40-second delay either way, so it's no good way of seeing it.
So we'll say like this. I'm actually gonna bring up the media banner. Do it like this. It looks like we are live. So
yeah, you're right. I see it.
Yep, it looks like we're live. How many is on? We'll see. But one thing I want to confirm is if everyone can hear us and see us. There's 16 on currently, 18 on. If you can, down in the comments, say we can see you, we can hear you. That's going to be good, just to confirm the audio. Yeah, Rohini, yeah, you are live. That's good. Hello from Dubai. Can you guys see the chat, by the way?
Yeah, I see it
in here. That's good. That's good. The very first question from Stuart: will this be recorded? Yes, it will be, Stuart. And the recording will be available on the events page after we end and wrap up and it's been processed. Yeah, it seems like we are live and everyone can hear us. So with that, I want to welcome everyone that is with us today to this Roundtable Growth Hacking Roundtable, where the goal is to go into 3 different companies and actually go through strategy, growth hacking, ideas for growth, basically making a strategy and come with a lot of suggestions for how you can grow the company. My name is Harold Roina. I'm the founder and CEO of Bureau Ventures. We're a venture studio working in growth and automation AI. Together with me, I have Lasse. He's my right-hand guy in the company and the COO, and he's the expert in our team for operations, sales psychology, and those topics. We also have Marcelo Pimenta with us. He is a 20-year-old seasoned expert in growth. And we have Robert Luna with us as well, and he's just a genius when it comes to AI and automation. And I've had the honor of getting to know him for the past couple of months. With that, I think we've introduced everyone. One thing that I also want to take a minute to add to here is that now we have 60 people on. During this live stream, we're going to go into 3 different companies. And if you want us to go through and growth hack your company in the terms of client acquisition, client onboarding, service delivery, and client retention, and for each of us 4 to share our perspectives on what you can do within those 4 topics, I just added a link in the comments. Open that, and you can submit your company to be one of those that we pick out. We've already selected one that we're going to go into. We're going to review the business cases that comes along, and then select the 2 next ones. So if you want that, go ahead and submit the company, and then we will go into it. But I think with that, guys, that we can just jump straight into it, because we do have one company that is pre-selected, and we are gonna go into that. But one thing that I want to make sure of is we're gonna select the company of Toby Corbalis. Are you with us here now live? I just want to confirm that if we need to ask a couple of follow-up questions. So now it is the 40-second, let's say, latency to see if he's actually here to confirm it.
I don't think there's a latency.
There should be
some. I have it on my phone pulled up to see it, and like I wave my hand and I wave it. It's pretty active.
Okay, yeah, that's good. It might look like Toby isn't with us, but one thing I did see is that we do have Rohini with us. So she's another one of those that submitted the question ahead of time. So let's just double check. Yeah, it looks like Toby isn't here. Rohini is here, and she is saying hello as well. So what we're going to then do is, I think the very easiest way, Rohini, for us to do this is that I actually share the link so that you can join the panel, and you can give the very short introduction to your company, and then that makes it easier for us to actually ensure that we have the information we need so we can do it live. I think you guys that are watching will get the most out of this. So there we go. But one thing that I'm also curious about is if you guys can comment in the comments as well what you're looking forward to, or if there's something that you want us to go into specifically, that would also help a lot, because then we can go into that in the end where we have a Q&A session. So I've sent
I just see someone in the chat. They said, "What's Roberto's skincare routine?"
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do? Some have it and some doesn't. I think that's the thing, Roberto. So I'm gonna share my screen. And then,
how does it say how many people are in here?
I'm actually looking at it on LinkedIn.
Oh, it says on LinkedIn.
Yeah, on the live. There's 83 people live.
Oh, great. Well,
so let's see if Rohini is picking up.
She in the room or in the waiting room here now?
Not yet. So, Rohini, if you haven't seen my message, I sent you the message on LinkedIn with the link. I guess she's working on joining.
Doing well. There
we go. Now we have Rohini in the room. So there we go. Rohini, you are now live on the stream. So good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
So I think the way we're going to do this is that we might go a bit into the questions that, or by the way, I haven't added my screen to the stream yet. What I want you to do, Rohini, is a bit about what we did in terms of the questions that you added beforehand. But could you take us through like a very simple and concise way and description? What is your business? What is it about? What is it that you do, and who do you do it for? And then we can take it from there. And myself, Lasse, Marcella, and Roberto can ask follow-up questions, and then we can just go into the 4 pillars as we go on.
Sure. So the company is called Wise Wager. It's a business development and sales advisory service for companies in the gambling and gaming sector. Very simply, I've been in the industry for about 20 plus years, built products and sold them. So I now help startups and established brands to access new products that fit their brand needs, because product roadmaps are quite chock-a-block. And in reverse, I help startups and other B2Bs get access to tier 1 operators across the globe. So that's what I do. Anything else you want me to cover?
Lasse, Marcelo, and Roberto, please fill in terms of adding follow-up questions as well. And then I'm gonna, let's say, be doing the note-taking on the screen as we go through, so that the people watching also will get something along the way that we go into the deep dive.
Yeah. So the ICP for my clients, essentially, myself as well, would be brands, gambling brands that would buy the products from these startups or established providers. So I sit in the middle of the buyer and the seller, effectively.
Yeah, so you're basically serving as the intermediary, the connector of both of them.
Yeah, so I accelerate access, because it's very hard to access big global brands.
Yeah.
What are the 2 funnels that you're... Oh yeah, you go first, Roberto.
Is it just gambling? Because I'm on your website. It says like sports, esports, media, entertainment.
Yeah,
all kinds of different stuff here.
That's all content for gambling.
Okay.
I was wondering, Rainy, then effectively you have two funnels if you're the third party. How do you go about finding the startups, and how do you go about like finding the actual gambling companies?
So I've been lucky. A few have found me, the startups who are looking to expand. Some through word of mouth, through investors, because I have a network that I nurture and work with. Yeah, that's how they find me. How do I find brands? Well, I know most of them because I've been in the industry for about 20 years, as I said, and I've built products that are quite notable. So they do recognize who I am, and there's a trust element built over a number of years. And of course, if there's new brands, then I use LinkedIn or relevant gambling and gaming specific media to identify them. And of course, the network itself.
Hey, Rohini, what's your challenge for now? What are you looking to achieve with your company now?
So I'd like to close as many deals as possible for my clients with the ICPs. And the challenge at the moment is my own bandwidth. I'm doing this alone. I wanted to accelerate my own business. I've got a couple of verticals that I'm working on. This is the most lucrative vertical today, but I don't think it's sustainable just on my own, hence automation and Growth Garden. I could hire somebody, but I think from all the conversations I've had, most of those people are leaning towards using things like Expandify and Dripify. So I decided I'd just do it myself.
Can we get to know a little bit more about your offers, the complexity of the sales cycle and something like that?
Sure. So typically the sales cycle in mature regulated markets and brands is about 2 years. So it takes time to introduce the products. Unless they're extremely high value, some of the startups have very innovative products which may not be fit, for example, outside of the US, because the culture is different when it comes to betting or casino gaming. So typically you tend to see minimum 1 to 2 year cycle. You introduce the product, it goes through their internal champions, influencers, then it ends up on a roadmap if they like it. Roadmaps are built a year in advance. This is your typical regulated tier 1 operators who are FTSE or NASDAQ listed, for instance. As you go down the tiers, things can move a little bit faster, but they would only do that if they are in, let's say, pre-regulated markets. So because of regulation, for instance, you've got to think through a lot of elements before you onboard a new product for your B2C end user. So the sales cycle can be quite long, which is why people like myself help brands, new established B2B providers, for instance, come into the industry. They struggle and it's expensive. For example, a lot of the startups I'm working with today feel like they've created an amazing product and they've spent a lot of money going to events, cold calling, meeting, networking with potential B2C brands, but they've landed nowhere because the pitch is wrong. They don't appreciate that they need a run rate in terms of finance for at least 2 years. Because once you're integrated, doesn't mean you start making money immediately, and a lot of it either. It takes a while for products to bed in, minimum 6 months, for end users to understand what that product is and actually start using it actively, which means that your product, once it's sold, will need at least 6 months to gain traction to see real value. Hope that helps.
Roberto, you had a couple of questions. It sounded like when either I think it was Lasse that cut you off. So go ahead.
So I heard that you said you saw what other people are using for the different tools in client acquisition. Which tools are you using now?
So I'm using this now, Growth Garden, and of course Get Sales.
Yeah, let me see this.
So to add into that, Roberto, Growth Garden is the community that we have. So I've talked about it in the past with you. And Get Sales is the LinkedIn automation software. You can send connection request automations and these things, and that's the core of those two.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. So is there anything that these tools are not giving you today that you would like it to give you? Like, the purpose of the growth hacking is to see what you're doing now, how we can enhance it based off what our expertises are. So you have some tools. You seem to have a foundation from what I see for your client acquisition side of things, right? So um, what what would you say has been working for you? Like, what have you seen the best result in from, has it been having good copy? Has it been setting up the right sequence? What would you say is already working or what's not working? So then I can suggest something to do.
So I only started this on Monday, by the way.
Oh, okay.
You,
So
yeah.
yesterday.
So today's Wednesday, but yeah. I started this on Monday. I joined Growth Garden and started using Get Sales and the Bureau the other platform. Previously, I've mainly used LinkedIn and just my own network, so email and contacts like that, and of course, attending a lot of industry conferences. So this would be my first foray into actively using any of these automation tools. But what I have a sense for is that copy, as in lead magnets that are different, will work because I receive a lot of inbound and I can immediately tell it's automated and I just delete it.
So are you educating your audience
What
with
do you
your
mean
lead
by that?
magnets?
I'm trying to, yes, yeah.
Like
But I
what?
think
Like give me like what kind
so
of lead magnets?
so for example, I sometimes create in order to promote one of my clients' products, for instance, I'll focus on user acquisition that they've achieved with certain brands. I use videos of their products so you can see how it plays out specifically. For example, if it's a certain game, right, on a particular website. So I cut videos of that and showcase that, but typically try and introduce the value of relevant KPIs and what that product is achieving, and then try and target the right ICP for each of those of my customers.
Okay. What I would suggest now from what I see, I think what you should do is have a system where you can generate hyper personalized lead magnets for your clients when they fill out your form. And when you book a meeting with them, you need to have a system where when they fill out the form, they answer some questions on, let's just say, the ways they may have struggled to reach different gaming companies, or the ways that they, or things that have worked for them or haven't worked for them. And then you can have a workflow that generates using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, and actually generate like a personalized PDF document of like a how-to guide or like a personalized roadmap plan for yourself to help when you're on that call with them. So then you can basically have something personalized from what they told you. So then not just having a lead magnet on your, let's just say, LinkedIn post or whatever other content you post, right? You want to have it where when you're speaking to them, you can provide value to them on the spot from what they already are telling you before the call. And of course, another thing would be even having a custom GPT that while you're on the call with them, you can be typing in the information that they're giving you to put together a PDF or document to share with them on some sort of strategy or part of your service delivery, if that makes sense. I'm jumping a bit ahead there, but for the actual acquisition part, the way to educate them is always wanting to give them information, and even when they sign up, you can actually automate that document to automatically email to them. So you don't even have to review it. So you can fine tune it to a point where once they fill out the form, the system will personalize the document or email, right? The email and the document from what they filled out on the form or from what research that like you do on the company. That would be what I would suggest for client acquisition too, to help you, close more clients, would be having a personalized AI system when they book a call with you. There's a lot you can do there.
Sure, I
I,
appreciate that, though that's not my bottleneck. Finding clients for myself isn't the bottleneck. It's closing deals with the gaming brands that would buy their products.
Right. That's why what I had mentioned is to give them more information to close them. This isn't about getting the client. This is about educating the client more when you're on the call with them. So before you have a conversation with them, they're already getting information on how you're going to be able to help them. So that's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with the actual like outreach, right? You don't have a problem with that. What I'm trying to say is how you can personalize the first interaction with them to close them.
Sure.
Makes
But
sense?
I just wanted to shoot in for clarification, really. So the number one goal that you have is that you have these gambling companies that you have as clients, and your service delivery is that you help them get connected with, or you help startups get connected with them to be able to sell the startup services to the gambling companies, or is it the
Correct.
other way around?
No, it's gambling companies, as you've written, they're the buyers, right?
Yeah.
And the startups are the B2Bs. The startups need
Yeah.
to sell to the gambling companies. I
Yeah.
sit in the middle. I have no issue with finding startups who need help. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
It's closing deals for their products and services with the brands. That needs to happen. So I can
Yeah.
connect the two. As I said,
I
that's a
get it.
2-year sales cycle. So that's where I need to fast track. Filling out forms, etc., is great. I don't particularly need that. I know the services I provide. They know the services I provide because it's word of mouth. If I need to expand on that and try and get more startups, then sure, it makes sense to go down that route. But that isn't the problem.
The thing is, you want a larger quantity of gambling companies to say yes to the services
Correct.
of the startups that you work with. So
Yes.
the bottleneck is that the gambling companies are super slow to say yes, even open the door, or for you to get in the door.
Exactly.
So one thing that I wanted to do then is actually, Marcelo, do you have any, let's say, ideas for, let's say, the large or enterprise types of sales? Because that is basically the nature of this type of, let's say, engagement.
Yeah,
So
well,
maybe you have something to add in there.
I'm trying to get what how the job is done, but I see that the challenge is to close. Those big brands are like retailers, Rohini. Are they
They're
retailers
both
or?
mixed. So where are you based?
I'm based in Brazil.
Right. So you must have heard of NSX in Brazil, a sports betting
Eh,
brand.
No, not really.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Brazil landscape for gambling and sports betting? It's just opened up this January.
No, I'm not very much of this field, you know.
Right. Well, you'll probably see brands coming into Brazil that you've never seen before, but they'll be all online, and certain retail brands as well, like Flutter might come there. There's Evoke. There's quite a few big brands that have just got licensed this January. So there'd be retail, physical, and online. But mostly I'm dealing with online.
So I haven't heard about those brands, but uh, what's your main difficulty when you're trying to close those deals? Just for me to get a little bit more of the psychology on the sales side here.
Sure. So with these brands, because they're large organizations, sometimes with thousands of people, identifying the key decision maker and the champion en route to that decision maker takes a long time, right? So I do know some of them, and I use my contacts from the industry. I've just done that today to identify a particular head of, for instance, who might be the right person, but then he would need approval from his senior, right, the main
Yeah.
decision maker who's got the budget to invest in something new, for example, or push out something from the roadmap. That takes time. So the challenge is uh, identifying them, because there's a lot of change happening as well within the industry. For example, Brazil, I'll take that as an example. A lot of the brands that were there have had to get licensed. So it's killed out a lot of the brands, which means the people that I previously knew up until last year have changed jobs or have changed companies. So that makes a big difference, number one. Two is, once you're connected with them, it could be weeks, months before they respond. right?
Yeah.
And then once they do respond, because they're quite busy, for example, right, there's a brand called Bitano. They have over 75 providers for
I know
one
them.
particular vertical, right? So
Yeah.
you might be into football. So Bitano is in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
And they're a big brand. Now try to imagine trying to sell a football product to them that you can then use to bet on.
Yeah, well, I worked for a very big Brazilian brand here called Magazine Luiza, which is like one of the biggest in Brazil. And what I could learn from this experience is that you have to have a lot of you have to be very close to the people to close the deals. Né? So relationship is the word here. So I
Yes.
don't know how to help because it's not like very much digital. But as I can see, you are negotiating for the startup brands, right? You're not just doing the catch up, right?
I depends on, yes, mostly I do their pitch and their strategy. I help them understand whether or not their product will actually work by putting their product and doing demo calls with prospects, right, who are open to giving feedback, so we can understand whether or not the brand Betano likes it, for instance. B, does it tick the boxes from a regulatory and compliance perspective? And three, which is very important, how much value will it add to that brand?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the three key. Yes, it's relationship building, which I do have, but the challenge is to close those deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think I want to I think I want to shoot in also in a bit of the essence of time as well. I think we can go into ideation because I think the key problem here is fairly straightforward, and that is we need to start gaining more entry into the gambling companies so that you can even start the dialogues with them. Rene, isn't that right?
Let's start there. That would be a great starting point.
And I saw a couple of people actually, or I think it was Carla that actually posted in the comments in terms of it's basically account-based marketing that we're looking into here. And I think I'm going to do my first, let's say, initial take on what I think would make sense for client acquisition. And then Roberto, you might play to this in terms of how we can use AI, because that's one of the things that you mentioned, Rainy, being that you're the bottleneck, like you have limited hours per day. And how can we use tech and automation and potentially agents to multiply your time? So I think there are a couple of things, and I'm going to go a bit more into it now, that I come to think of when it comes to this audience. One question to just highlight it. What's the geography that you're targeting? I know that we had this talk about this earlier, Rainy, in terms of if it's Europe, States, or where it is. But for those that are listening, is it the States? Is it the Europe? Is it Latin America? Like, where are the companies that you want to specifically target in terms of gambling companies?
We can start with the US.
Mm-hmm.
I work globally, but if we want to stay focused, let's start with the US.
Yeah. So there are a couple of ways I see us gaining entry. One is, of course, you can do cold email. But I think the one thing that we need to figure out first is that we need to find them. So finding the companies. I think that a good way of doing that is just using LinkedIn as initial way. You can also use Apollo, which is another tool to kind of like a database finding the decision makers. Who are the key decision makers in the gambling companies, and who are, let's say, the supporting roles around this key decision maker in terms of the roles and titles and positions?
Typically, it would be CPO because they hold the P&L, right? So Chief Product Officer holds the P&L for any kind of product, even if unless it's a regulatory mandated product. Nobody touches them, right? So compliance, yes, otherwise you can't operate there. Outside of that, it's the CPO. Now, influencing the CPO can be your CTO, right? If it's tech led, like AI is a big thing at the moment, so there's AI experts all over the place. If it's data driven, then it can be the CIO. Within this particular CX group, you'll have product directors and heads of products who I would typically initially outreach to, get their buy-in, and then help them pitch it up further. So really what I'm hoping in terms of growth hacking is, as you touched on earlier, is automating a lot of this and at speed. So I'm not sitting here doing this. And I think Carla in the comments is saying, where I need deep understanding of the audience, build, nurture, relate. I already have that, but I want to triple that, right? And send them content that bites so that they can actually then start closing demo calls with me without me having to spend a week trying to convince that person that he should come on the call.
I'm just going to do it very rapid fire now, and then we can add to it. So one is, and we've talked about this, and that is LinkedIn outreach. So basically sending outbound connection requests on LinkedIn. I think that's a very easy one. The next to that is just basically lead magnets to engage, because the goal at the top is how can we get eyes towards us, how can we get contacts and just initial connections, and lead magnets on LinkedIn to get inbound. The next thing I would look at is I would look at some sort of nurturing sequence on the back end. So nurture emails, that could be anything from sharing all their valuable resources, lead magnets, and this is where the idea that Roberto had could come in as well, with hyper-personalized lead magnets, where what you can do is that it's possible to create AI agents and systems that can scrape the company of the gambling company, and you can build a system for the startup in terms of what their product is, and then you can basically create personalized pitches and personalized content that presents and positions the startup's products and services as the go-to or the best, or as a solution to the different problems that the gambling companies might have. Again, just to build awareness around the startups. What I would go ahead.
I was going to say, I think automation would help, because what I typically do is I understand the brands, but obviously I don't have the latest information. So because these are publicly traded companies, I can go onto their annual reports and see strategically what they're focusing on. And then I use their words to tie into whatever the startup is doing. So I know the hooks on how to do it. But again, if there is an AI agent that I can just dump a link to and go, here, figure out what their Q4 strategy is and how this product might relate to it, then the email is a bit more personalized than just some generic crap.
I think playing along with the thought of the whole process that we're outlining here, I want to lay it out for you, Roberto, later to look at how we could actually do it technically. But the thing which I have in mind is that you're mentioning that there's two very specific segments here of the target audience, Rohini. It's the key role and the supporting roles. Like one term which I've pinned for that I use in my methodologies at least, is that you have the decision maker and then you have a bunch of influence makers. The influence makers can make or break the deal, no matter how good the relationship you build with the actual decision maker is. And if you can set up basically the resources and the stuff that you do for the outbound to start the connections, because you won't be able to filter completely specifically only on the decision makers. You will reach a lot of influence makers as well. So if you can do that in a non-spammy way, where you share more of these resources and you start engaging conversations there, where we scrape the leads over to a backend where we can do nurturing over email and Facebook, then the interesting element tech-wise, which I would like to get your take on, Roberto, is how we can set up some sort of filtering system that goes through the funnel. When we have a nurturing sequence going with the retargeting ads and the emails, we would be able to basically score who is the most engaged ones. And with the engaged ones, then it would be really interesting to be able to run through filters to identify whether they are in the decision-making role or whether they are just a supporting role. And thereby, if they are in the decision-making role, to make such a custom lead magnet or custom resources and custom pitch for them. I think that could be a really nice flow here.
So I actually have built something like this before. I'm going to explain to you how it works. There's different tools like Phantom Buster, the Growth Machine, Lead Shark, for example, where you can almost like enrich data from competitors' pages, or even your page, for example. What I mean by that is you can see who likes your post, who comments your post, what they commented on the post, that sort of thing you can scrape. And we can add that into an Airtable. So once we add it into the Airtable, we can have another trigger take all that data from like a small language model, let's just say, and we can give it some parameters to choose what like based on their comments, based on their interactions with your content, or based on the interactions that that user or that email has had. Like we can make it one centralized let's just say enrichment Airtable. So we find a record for the name or email or company that the person's associated, and then we can have the different columns of like how many times they've interacted with your content, which content, what their comments were, and then we can have other pillars in the Airtable that analyze like a scoring, right? Like a scoring mechanism of how interested are they in this, or what are they more leaning towards, or what red flags can we associate with what their company is and how they're interacting with the content. You know, we can even pull in their emails and put this all in one centralized Airtable hub. So there's a way to do this where it's almost as if you're building your own clay.com at home. So Clay could do this too, but you can also use Airtable and different APIs to, you know, like I said, like Phantom Buster or Lead Shark, to bring in information from your content or other content that these people might be interacting with. And then you can relate, you can have a relational, like there's a API parameter in Airtable that says find record, add or update record, and you can update the record based on the email or name that the person, you know, commented or whatever. You know, obviously it might not be 100% every time because some people might have the same name. Hopefully your target market doesn't always have the same name, like John Smith or something like that. But if we can scrape their email too and make it always be there, then that'll help. So I think a system like that would be pretty beneficial for something like this.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know we can scrape their email, especially with because you're already using Get Sales, Rohini. We have a system that we've built so it's possible to just enrich directly from Get Sales and then sync it back to the Airtable so that we have that. And then we could also, I'm thinking of how can we build the best algorithm to see how much they're engaging. We would probably be able to sync back into the email, basically the email sending software that we have as well, to see how much they're engaging there and match that back to the email if we have that as a as an idea.
Okay.
Well, this is all very interesting what you're saying, Roberto and Lasse. And one more thing to add here, maybe like Carla Ma, she said here in the chat, you need to get back to the gatekeeper. So if she has to shorten the time that the sales cycle is going through right now, maybe she can try to nurture even manually. Because when she shows up, the more she shows up to this ICP here, the more chances she has to close before. And because her competitors are not showing up a lot to those guys, and if she does that with a really good sequence and maybe putting the right content, she can clusterize. I have those kinds of companies, and then I have those kinds of companies, and then she's always showing up through email. I think that this strategy could help her get a little bit more of like if she was like a television a commercial to those guys, and maybe one time they're going to raise their hands to making the purchase with her. I don't know, maybe just to add up a little bit here.
I think email is a good shout there, Marcello, because not everybody's on LinkedIn that often. That they're also working, and I can see that because I sometimes have to send them an email, and then they look at LinkedIn. Sometimes they look at LinkedIn and then respond to the email. So, but I've noticed the very active ones are not always the best buyers. The best buyers are on email because they're busy actually working and reviewing products. In my view, they're good for connecting and the occasional, hey, how you doing, are you coming to this event, but nobody is buying products off of LinkedIn in gambling. this side.
It's going to be relationships. It's going to be conversations and relationships. I think also we won't be able to go into the 3 other pillars because I think we spent a lot of time on this. The funny thing is, since you're in growth Rene, we can pick up the conversation on this, let's say more specifically about how an automation like this or how it will be tied together. But ultimately, what I think is what we want to do ultimately, since we have to do an account-based approach, which basically is, for those that don't know about account-based marketing, you have, let's say, a series of 50 accounts, meaning larger companies that you want to sell to, and you're just going to focus on those 50. What we can do for that here is that we can figure out and find all of those that are in the key role, which is the CPO, and we can find the supporting roles, the CTO and the CIO, figure out what type of content would be engaging for them, given the different services and products that these startup companies have, and then reach out on all possible platforms where we use basically this multi-platform, multi-channel type of approach with email, with LinkedIn, running maybe some retargeting ads. And that's not a high budget. It's like $2 to $5 a day is enough to be able to start being visible. And if you have content that addresses the challenges, you basically will have people that engage. But I also agree about what you said, Rahina, which is most of the people that are the ones that, let's say, put up the pen and do the signature, they are super busy and aren't on LinkedIn all day. So I think a multi-channel to build awareness, be visible, and build recognition of the startup is paramount. And I think with that, Lasse, Roberto, and Marcelo, do you have any final things that you want to, let's say, add in terms of suggestions before we wrap up this case?
No, I mean, I think I kind of understand it now at this point.
Yep. Lasse?
Yeah, I think this makes sense.
Yeah,
Nothing more
me
to add,
too.
really.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Swapnil.
No problem.
Cheers, guys.
You're welcome.
Shall I leave the studio now?
I'm going to do the remove and then you can leave. But I will see you on hopefully on Friday, really, and then
Sure.
we can pick this up.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
My pleasure, really. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Harold,
So
look at the bottom of the thing. Look at the while we were on the call, I was putting together these questions I think we should do to make it more simple.
Mm-hmm.
So we can spend time specifically and have a better conversation on each one of these so we can essentially growth hack it.
Yeah. So do you want to just like quickly bring us through these and then we can do that for the next case when we pick the next business?
Right. So basically these questions will help us extract information from the person we're talking to then suggest. So rather, like, basically my feedback from the previous person we were looking to help, Rohini, was we kind of were all a little, not necessarily all over the place, but I think we can do a better job being more structured and we can fix it now. So for the next person, we can start like this, where we ask these specific questions, collect information, right? But we go through this all the way. And then when we're done going through all these questions, then we all give our take on client acquisition, on client onboarding, on service delivery, and client retention, on what we think we can do. Now, after we understand the business from the top to the bottom, from what they tell us. After they tell us the information we have, then we can give them our advice, because now we know exactly what they do. We know their onboarding process. We know what their services are. We know how they retain the clients, and we know how they get the clients. Once we have that, that'll help us better help them. And then we can spend 15 minutes going through these questions and 15 minutes giving our suggestions, our advice on each one of these pillars.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
All right, good stuff.
So we have received a couple of other submissions now. So I'm gonna bring those in, add those to this list as well.
Okay, add them in real quick.
that-
I'm getting a tissue. 1 second.
Yeah. So I think I got them here now. Table. So Just gonna add. I know that I have sent a message to one guy called, let's see, Sebastian Nanto. I'm not sure if you are live, Sebastian, but I think you could be an interesting case because it's software. So it's potentially a bit more straightforward, maybe shorter sales cycles as well. But here you guys have the list, so you guys can review them. Are there anyone that is live? So Sebastian,
what's the answer to the final question? What's the question to the final answer that they've added, where Roman has referrals and outbound, etc. The way they're selling right now, or
it says, "Will you be attending live?" Oh, how's your company?
Live?
No, the other question is, how's your current team and company set up? How many do you have?
Sorry about that. I'm going to copy it down as well. So there you go.
But that doesn't make sense.
Oh,
the two of these are switched. But again, then it makes sense. Yeah. Then I see it at least.
Yeah, I see people ask about zooming in. It's not the best visual on it, actually. So I'm going to do... Can I change the width?
Okay, but I'm also curious about Sebastian's company here.
Yeah, but let's see. I've sent the link to Sebastian. But he has not yet joined the stream studio.
Sebastian, can you send a message in the chat if you're like hearing this and if you're on your way in? In the meantime, let's look at which others we could do.
Yeah. So if we take the number 1, Roman, let's say, let me actually do a call. Roman, if you are on, can you just reply in the comments that you're on? Bram, if you're also on, can you also comment that you're on? And Panraman, can you also do the same thing? Because then we're pretty much going to see if we can just pick the one of the first of you guys that actually do the hands raise that you are around, and then that's going to be easier for us. But to go from the top, Roman Gal.
Roman is here.
Okay, let's. Will you fix the invite for Roman and Harold?
Yeah, I will. So let me see. Roman, you will get a link, and I will try to send that to you on LinkedIn. Roman, you have received a link to join the stream studio on LinkedIn. So go ahead and click that one and we can get to it. So let's see. We'll give him a minute to get into this.
In the meantime, do you want to just go for the website, Harold, with everyone?
Yep.
Sharing?
I can do that. So business and technology regulation monitoring with AI. Just going to do it. And there we have Roman. So I'm going to add Roman to the stage and then we can go into it.
With everyone.
Yep.
Sharing?
I can do that. So business and technology regulation monitoring with AI. So it sounds like I have feedback loop from your microphone, Roman. So are you able to mute?
I'm going to add Roman to the stage.
Roman, are you able to mute the the tab on LinkedIn, that is the stream, because we can hear ourselves talk back. And then you can unmute here in the studio. There, I think it should be good. Can you hear us, Roman?
It doesn't seem so.
No. So there's some audio challenges here. So we'll give it a minute.
I can hear him typing.
Yeah,
me too.
it sounds like the output is the issue. So let's see.
I can hear him typing.
Yeah, me too.
It sounds like the output is the issue.
Okay, I joined the stream on LinkedIn
Yeah.
as well, so I can hear you from the
Let's see.
LinkedIn stream, but not in the StreamYard.
The issue with being on the LinkedIn stream is that we can hear ourselves back through your
It sounds
speakers.
like the output is the issue.
Hello.
So we can hear you.
I think Roman is still listening from the
Yeah.
stream, which is on delay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring Roman out of the stage. And then we're gonna do issues with sound.
Bram just said that he is also here. So let's give Roman another chance. And if he doesn't make it, then Bram, look at the wrongdoings that we did now and make sure that you don't do it if we let you on.
So let's see. So Bram, I'm just gonna ensure that we I'm gonna send the link to you as well, Bram, and then we'll try once more with Roman, and if that doesn't work, you will have the shot. So we will have you lined up. So Roman is going to try with his phone. Let's see if that works. So he's trying to connect then.
Maybe we could ask the audience what are their countries. Meanwhile, put on the chat, people. What are your countries for us to see our reach here? Maybe we have people from all around the world, no? Or
Yeah, I think so.
Mostly in Europe, I guess.
I know that we had a lot of people from Latin America and Brazil, from you sharing this event, Marcelo.
Yeah, we have lots of. I made the invitation on my list, and maybe we have some folks from Brazil here too.
Yeah. So Roman, I'm gonna try adding Roman back in, and then we'll see if it worked. So Roman, can you hear us now? It does not look like it.
Okay, let's move on in that case.
Yeah. So, Bram, I've shared the link with you on LinkedIn. So if you check your inbox, there should be a link in your DMs to be able to jump on and join.
Okay, let's shift our focus then when it comes to the websites and stuff to Bram's business, Cortasu.
Yep. So I see Bram has seen my message. He is about to enter. So he will be here in just a short minute. So this is a completely different type of business.
These guys have nice websites.
Yeah, they do.
Hey, Crystal,
see.
I will put a link in the chat actually to a lot of those tools. Give me 1 second.
There we have you, Bram. So welcome to the roundtable.
Guys. Can you guys
And
hear
we can
me?
hear-
well?
Yes.
Yeah, perfectly.
There's no feedback loop here, so I think with that we can jump into it. So I'm just going to
Perfect.
bring
I
the
think I'm now
questions.
actually-
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I think I was double in the 2 times in the stream, but now I'm hearing everything fine. Only 1 time, so I'm good.
That's
Perfect.
good.
Cool.
So I think we can just go through the list. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to split my screen like so that we can have kind of like things on both ends. I hope hopefully this is not possible to do in the stream, so I'm going to go back. So Bram, Lasse, you can go through the first question, and then we can just go through step by step.
Yeah, or do you think that we should ask the questions itself, or should Bram just walk through them?
If you guys want, I can also go through some things that are important for Corda Zoo, because maybe some things are more relevant and some things aren't.
Yeah, I think if you can start, Bram, with just going through, like, if you start with client acquisition, and keep in mind the time here, like, let's spend like 8, 10, 15 minutes on just getting to know the business properly. And then just go through each of the sub questions. You can batch some of them together if you want, but just so that we get the full context of the stuff that we can help with.
Yeah, okay. So maybe also for the people watching, like Corda Zoo, to explain, we are an outdoor, like premium outdoor brand. So we make outdoor clothing for skiing, etc. And I think because we are a brand, client acquisition has been quite different maybe than other companies that you guys have talked to or partnered with. So, the gravity thing that you always talk about, we believe in it as well. So mostly our clients have come to us ourselves because we make content on LinkedIn a little bit and Instagram. Client acquisition is mostly natural and organically, but it has dried up a little bit. So now we want to be more actively, looking for new leads ourselves. And we're all not really very deep into the sales world. So maybe I'm missing some key points here that you guys want to talk about. If I just say it to me, then I will try if I understand the lingo. But so that's client acquisition for now.
So you guys sell products?
Yeah, we sell products. So we sell premium jackets for skiing and winter sports. So one thing I was reading in one of your documents was the lead magnet. And currently we are having a bit of a hard time when we reach out to make people interested because it's quite hard to not make it salesy. When I reach out through LinkedIn, it gets salesy very often, very quickly. So we want to give them a bit more value from the start, but we are not sure how to do that.
How does the B2B like packages that you sell look like, first of all?
Yeah, so like a retailer, so we sell to outdoor retailers, so big stores that also, for example, sell Patagonia and the North Face. And it goes very simply. So there's a certain order quantity they want, and then we send it to them from our magazine, from our warehouse. So that's the packages varied retailer from retailer based on their demand.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I think with that you could move on to client onboarding.
Yeah, so client onboarding is also maybe not as relevant because we sell products. So for instance, like with a retailer, once they have the products, it's theirs to sell.
Yeah.
Hey, Bram. Just a question here. Are you an industry or a retailer?
So we are a brand. So we have our own website. You can order from our website. We also now have our own physical store in Amsterdam, and we are looking to increase our physical presence. So we want to be in more outdoor retailers that sell like different brands, Patagonia, Columbia, and so that's our B2B sales. So we want to approach those retailers and make them order from us. But for now, like the initial contact has been quite difficult to get them to reply even or show interest, because maybe good to know in the retail business. So in the retail business, retailers order once a year. So for example, currently retailers are already ordering for next season, next winter. So there's only a very short time frame of 2 months that the deals get made. And we want to sort of keep our leads warm throughout the year. So when I reach out, they will actually, apply. But it's the first contact of me reaching out. That's the hardest so far.
So just to shoot it in there as well. So basically, just to reiterate, you sell this premium outdoor clothing. You primarily sell to outdoor or retailers that put your basically your products and equipment in their stores, etc. When you find these retail companies today, like one, how do you currently find them? And what's the typical, let's say, going way to get in contact with them, start discussions with them, line meetings with them, so that you can potentially pitch them and do a deal during that very small window on an annual basis? What's the go-to?
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah, so what we do so far to find them, we just go to like a different outdoor brand, which is bigger, for example, Patagonia. And on their website, they have like a list of like a map, and you can see all the retailers that sell Patagonia. And so we can just click on it, and we go to their website, and then I go to LinkedIn to find out who works there. I send some connections out, and the people that accept my connections, I will send them a message like after a few days. That's how we do it now.
Mm-hmm. You do this manually?
Manually, all manually, yeah.
It can be very easily automated.
Oh yeah, okay.
I was thinking about that immediately. Like, if it's done manually, like, I guess there's plenty of ways you can look at, let's say, emulating and automating that process for better. But another thing, so it's just that manual outreach. Are you running, let's say, any ads, any sponsorships to build up hype around the product that you have, so that there might be, let's say, a demand from the retailers that, okay, we need to actually stock up of the products that you guys have, aside from you, let's say, you directly going outbound and just pitching yourself?
Yeah, no, so far our ads are only focused on consumers, actually. So we just have ads for products, but not dedicated to retailers or B2B.
But your focus is on B2B right now, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing business development together with, I'm not the co-founder, but together with one of the founders, and we are now focusing on B2B. So we sell still mostly B2C, like consumers buying from our website or buying in our physical store here. But we want to be more retailers, in more stores available, other than our own stores. So that's B2B then, and I am focusing on that right now.
Just a question here. If I'm about to buy your product, what's your differential from the other competitors? What do you say for them?
Yeah, good question. So our biggest differentiator is that we, per product sold, we regreen 100 square meters in Africa. So we really believe in sustainability. We are B Corp certified. So that's, in my opinion, one of the few real big differentiators, because we are premium. There are also other premium brands that sell very high quality clothing, similar quality as us, I guess. So it's the sustainability factor that we regreen land per product sold, is that that sort of identifies us and differentiates us.
Is there any, let's say, pieces of, because you're saying that you have high-end clothing, like what type of sourcing of materials, production, and these kinds of things? Are you looking at sustainability through the entire thing? Like, what's this USP and differentiator on those regards?
Yeah, we do as well. So we use like 98% recycled materials. So our products are made from 98% recycled stuff. So everywhere we can, we do it sustainably. And that's also, B Corp certified. We have to meet these requirements every year to stay B Corp certified. They're quite strict, becoming even more strict. It's a label, if a company's B Corp certified, people know or should know that we do almost everything very sustainably.
Yeah, so ultimately, bottom line, the goal is to do more B2B sales. Currently, everything is done manually. It's you find let's say, the accounts and the stores and retailers that you want to reach out to through who sells other household names like Patagonia, by seeing what stores basically have Patagonia in them, and then you reach out in that way.
Yeah, perfectly summarized. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So Roberto, like this is your forte. Like, what would be the process for us to go through and come up with the idea for how to emulate this process with AI?
So I'm going to sum this all up because I understood everything that you're doing. So I have some questions and then I'm going to tell you what I think. So you have client acquisition, onboarding, service delivery, and retention, right? So in your business, because you have a product, these pillars still, it's still the same thing. So what I mean by that is you have, those two sides you mentioned from the beginning. You have the clients, you have the people who buy the product. So you have to have two different ways to market, right? You have to have a way to get the real retailers, and you have to have a way to get people who actually use, the consumer, right? So as far as those systems, you're going to need to have like that thing that you mentioned, that system you had that you're doing now. You can easily automate that for scraping their website, collecting the links to the partners. You can add the links to those partners into another sequence that will find you either the CEO or CMO or whoever's in charge of that. And then you can personalize an email to them. And then you can add them to a sequence on, like, let's just say the growth machine, for example, where you can send them a connection request automatically. And then you don't really have to do any of that anymore. And then you add them to a sequence to follow up with them via email or messaging, right? That's just for that. For the other people, there's only so many ways you can market a product. So I know you said you're already doing Instagram. Hopefully you guys have affiliates. Hopefully you are on TikTok shop. Hopefully you're making, videos of, what makes your product stand out versus other products. Like there's a lot of standardized things you can do for that as far as client acquisition goes. And then onboarding has to do more so, the word client onboarding sounds more for like a service-based business, right? But yours is a product-based. So it's still similar. How does your product look on the shelf? That is part of the onboarding. How are you getting people to see what you're doing? How are you getting the retailer to want to work with you? So the process you have behind the retailer joining you and buying your product, like how do they send the order? How do you send the proposal to them? How do you send the contract to them? All of these things are things you're going to need for onboarding for the the retailers, right? And then for the consumers, you need to focus more so on how can I make my product look better on the shelf? How can I, have some sort of packaging, right? That's considered onboarding when they're first entering, if there's a way you can have something in the package be personalized to them when they order online, that can be automated nowadays, right? You can send to your manufacturer automatically something to put their name, right? You can even charge more if you do that. You can have it send them a AI generated letter that will be super personalized to them, like, hey, this is our product, we're exclusive, whatever. Yeah, and that, like some guy, Jonathan Capriola just said, I did over 80 mil in retail. It's not that cut and dry. Every retail is different. Everyone's different for sure. So your system you have now that's already been working would have to be custom implemented, right? It's not going to be the same as, let's just say, another client I'm working with that sells what's it called, like a supplement product. It's going to be much different, right? He's doing the same thing. He's selling products on TikTok shop and he's trying to get people to put his product on the shelf. Same thing. So the systems are the same, but the copywriting and the way you find the people is going to be different. Now for service delivery, like that's simple. Just how are you sending the product to them? Not always is there a tool involved. Not always is there AI involved or automation involved, but still the system behind what you're doing is important to have documented and organized and structured, right? Like how you get the product to arrive to your retailer on time, just little things like that. It sounds really obvious, but some people don't have it documented. Like, do you have all your systems documented for how you deliver the product to your retailers?
Yeah, also depends on the retailer. Like some order like very large amounts, and then it differs from like smaller retailers. But I think what you said in the beginning, I didn't actually know that you could automate like LinkedIn connections and send automated messages, which would be great. And I'm also thinking about like even if maybe Harold or Lasse knows more, like it's more specified that I read something from your post. like content-wise, like the gravity,
Yeah.
perspective. I think for a brand, it's really relevant, because we want people to become a part of Corda Zoo, become a part of our mission to regreen the earth, and we like to think we are a cool brand, so we can do something with content maybe. Do you think I should maybe start? Like I was thinking about starting making content on LinkedIn, on my personal page, because I'm scared. Like there are only let's say 100 retailers, 100 locations in the Netherlands, which we are based.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really easily go through them. If I just start calling them or LinkedIn messaging them, like in a week, I will have I've had all of them. And if 80 of them said no, then it will be really hard maybe to get a yes out of them later. So should we even be doing, you think, outreach or not?
Well, let me give my takes on this, because you have a hyper niched market if you're only in the Netherlands and you're working with a certain size of the retails. So what I would go about doing there is that still make the resources, still make ways, like if you think that that one of the USPs that you can do for the brand is the sustainability aspect, just write some stuff about sustainability that would be helpful for these retailers, and some reviews, perhaps some sort of articles or whatever about how you're doing sustainable actions. And then when you're saying, should you post things on LinkedIn or should you do outreach on LinkedIn? I would, in this instance, when you say there's 100 retailers, you could filter all of them down with Sales Navigator, more or less. You won't be able, same as with Rohini, you won't be able to filter down the actual decision makers, but you will be able to make a list of people that have some sort of influence in these companies. And what you can do then is I would go about it with a combination of what Roberto was talking about when it comes to prospecting, because if you can do the automated prospecting of the retailers that already has Patagonia in store there, and then you work from that end, then you could still make the resources. You could fetch these LinkedIn accounts that you would get from the other automation, and then the connection requests you could send out is simply just with resources and articles, not directly pitching them or anything like that, because there's so few that you don't want to burn any bridges there. But if you create the connections, you send them stuff which is valuable for them. And then on the flip side, if there's just 100 retailers, we should rather set up automations to scrape their or to find their phone numbers, because it's Netherlands, so I'm guessing it's not that hard to find with certain registers. If you can do so and you create basically a natural entry with LinkedIn and with the resources, so that they know about you and they know about your brand and they know you by name as well, then you have a way easier job when it comes to just picking up the thread with those few companies that you can actually target, and then just focus on building an actual relationship with the decision makers that you find there.
Yeah.
I wanted to add as well. So if you were to, there's two things that I come to think of is if you're already finding or if you have a list of, let's say, 100 retailers that covers the entirety of the Netherlands, it's fairly straightforward to find the employees in those companies. What you can then do is that if you're able to find the email of them, for example, we have a tool for that. It's called Bureau Leads. We can just take the website of a company, we can get out all of the employees, or we can just use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, so one of the premium accounts or the plans that you can have on LinkedIn, to find all of the employees. If you then have that, what you can do is that you can add those to both on LinkedIn, but also on Meta, and run retargeting ads. And this is a bit of a different way. So it's not a one-to-one connection like Lasse talked about in terms of automating connection requests and not pitching, but doing, let's say, more natural networking and sharing something that is valuable, like it says the sustainability report in retail. But with retargeting, what you can do is that you can create content that isn't necessarily you, Ram, but more about the company overall. So that could be reports, sustainability aspects, production cycles, product features. If you have someone, for example, Red Bull is an amazing company doing this, right? They don't produce their own product, their own drinks. They are the brand. So they basically sponsor, they have a partner that does all of the manufacturing. They don't own the manufacturing at all. They just do the marketing. So if you have something featuring the product, something like that, people talking about the product, if you have, let's say, 30 different ads with different types of messaging, you could run an ad towards the entirety of Netherlands for $2 to $5 a day on all platforms, and they will start to see your brand more often. And if they start to see your brand more often, and then maybe you then ping them on email or you do some sort of outreach, the recall of your name and the brand is higher, and the likelihood of, let's say, getting past the gatekeeper is way increased in comparison to someone never having seen the brand, never seen reports, sustainability, the things that makes you guys unique. So I think that could be an add-on to that, to make this, let's say, more sustainable. So I think, one, there's a very straightforward way, or as a good friend of mine told me years back, everything is easy as long as you know how to do it. But it's possible to automate the thing that you're currently doing with finding the retailers, finding the contacts, and reaching out to them manually. I would look at how to do that automated. I would also look at how can you find the people on LinkedIn to connect with them, because I think that's valuable. I think general content like report that's not pitchy, but more, let's say, building authority, building awareness makes sense, and also running those as ads. I think that type of stack and setup would be a very good version of one to start getting and penetrating more into the B2B market in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good info. Yeah,
I want to add.
Maybe then
I want to add one more. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to add one more thing for the final part for client retention. So, are you collecting the emails of the people who purchase your product online?
I think I'm actually not sure. I think we do. Yes.
Are you emailing them?
Yeah. We are emailing them. Yeah.
What are you emailing them?
We have like we use Klaviyo, so we have these flows. What we do basically, if we see some interaction, we like, so if we see no interaction through email, we will give them more offers, actually more discount. That's what we're doing now. So if we see, they get less interested in Corda Zoo, in our brand, we start, giving them better offers through email. That's what we're doing now, basically.
Do you have a loyalty program?
Yeah, well, yeah, not really. I think it's like mostly, so when people already shop with us, they will get like in a different email sequence than, for example, people that showed interest or apply to the newsletter. We have different sequences for that. So in a way, you could say there's like a sequence for like members already, or that already have one of our products, but not really.
But like, is there like a newsletter, like just showing them like? What I'm thinking now for the retention side of things, even for the retailers, is always having information to update them, like sending to retailers like, hey, look what we just did. We're a part of this event, and this is where we were able to, just educating them on who you're working with or who you've helped, that sort of thing. And then for the actual B2B or the actual consumer people, you want to have something always following up with them after they purchased the product, collecting feedback like, hey, what'd you think about our gear? What would you rate it? And, you're always trying to get a response, right? You're maybe not always going to get it, but if there's a way you can incentivize them to give you the feedback, that's going to help you a lot. You really want to collect information, especially with that. And if you can find ways to get them like, hey, if you post our product, if you post us wearing and you tag us, and then you reply to this email, we'll give you a 20% discount on your next purchase. You do stuff like that, I mean, I think that'll help a lot, especially building more people to want to stay purchasing your product and, becoming a loyal customer.
Yeah, nice. That's good. Yeah. And then would you maybe say, because now I'm scared, that if I'm doing like outreach right now, before we have put all this content on LinkedIn and whatsoever, I'm scared that I will scare away, our leads. So they will say, no, I'm not interested. And then, we are like 1-0 behind. Would you say it's better to first like focus on content for the upcoming 3 months whatsoever? Well,
here's the thing. The content that you're going to make on LinkedIn is going to be salesy no matter what, because you're going after retailers on LinkedIn. So don't even think about making content on your LinkedIn for people who are going to purchase your product. That you need to have other people do for you on like on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, right? Those are the people you want to make that type of content, not yourself. You need to go after the retailers because they want to talk to the people who are going to, you know, sell them or send them the product. But you need to have examples of your affiliates or things like that to send to the retailers as examples of, hey, look at this. These people are using it. This is our, you know, this guy has this many followers and he's wearing our product. That's the type of thing that I think the retailers are going to want to see when you contact them. So that could be
You know what?
something you include in your emails.
I just want to add something here. In Brazil, people are the brands are very used to doing something like two strategies that can help here. The B2C helps to facilitate the entrance on the B2B market. Then we could maybe try something here around the influencers causing what they called like a PR stunt. Do you know what's that? Like a PR stunt, something that can help to enter some markets. For instance, you have like a big influencer, and you produce some kind of content that calls the attention of the whole country, and it can be done paying the influencer, but like something very natural to flow. That would help you to enter those markets and call the attention to the brand. And another thing that I see that happens a lot here nowadays is the user generated content. If you have like lots of customers, you can incentivize them to post about the brand, because those posts are becoming money for them, or maybe discounts for another purchase in the future. This is very powerful because you were speaking to lots of people that are buying your products like right now, and they are enhancing the brands, and maybe it can facilitate the purchase for one or two more B2B retailers in the future. You know, like that might be a very I don't know. It's not very pricey for you to do. It's cheap, and it can work a lot.
Yeah, nice, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate the info. I think we can really do something with it.
I think with that you've received plenty of ideas for what can be done. I think this is more than a handful to let's say get started with and look more into. But do you have any final questions to us before we move on to the next case, Bram?
No. Actually, I don't. I think most of my questions have been answered by you guys. So, and also by the people in the comments. By the way, I saw some good things over there. So I appreciate it. Thanks for the help and the information. And we'll see where we are from like a year from now. Hopefully, a bit bigger.
Yeah, sounds good. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
See you, bro.
You're welcome. See you.
So, and that was Bram. What I think now is Roman has been sitting idly by in the stream studio and been sorting it out. So we're gonna give him another shot and see if that works. We're gonna take a look at the questions, or maybe even open up for the Q&A, because there's been some technical issues and we might not be able to do 3. But I'm gonna add Roman to the stage, and then we can go through with Roman again. So Roman, let's see if this works now.
Yeah, it should. Hey, guys.
Now it works.
Hey,
How are you?
Awesome. Yeah, it's 1:30. I'm in Thailand at the moment. I was just going over my late email and check and saw Harald, and I was like,
You're
why did
where?
I pop up? And in Thailand, in Koh Phangan. And yeah, I was almost falling asleep, and I guess my Brave browser didn't let it happen. So, but I'm glad you kept me on, guys. So yeah, thanks. So yeah, really quickly, we're a B2B SaaS startup, pivoted from the consulting team working in the banks and stuff. As AI and data science guys, we saw the market gap and opportunity, and pulled from our 2 clients and verticalized and created the product. So I wrote in the application that we make 16K MRR with 7 consulting clients. This is true. But as of the product revenue, it's at the moment at 0 with 4 top level POCs and prospects. Yeah, just to clear this out. And I guess the main interest of mine is to define the best approach for quick ICP validation and monetization. In terms of there has been a lot of pull when you pitch the idea or you pitch the solution. There is interest all over the board, like from all the warm and community. But yeah, obviously with limited resources and still taking care of the consulting clients, we need to monetize a product that is ready at V1. Yeah, and I've sent you in the private chat. I've also launched early community onboarding campaign. And for that, I have bought eight domains, set up the smart lead 5,000 ICPs with Clay table, enriched then copycats with Ocean, and now kind of syncing the CRM. And for LinkedIn, I didn't start. I was using like HeyReach, but more thinking to go manually. And yeah, like pretty much there's 5,000 compliance directors, and yeah. So, and if we go over a question, maybe you guys want to ask me questions or.
Yeah, Lassi, I think you can take the lead on this.
Yeah. So first of all, you're mentioning that the audience is relatively small here. Just so I get the full context, so I'm just double checking and for the audience as well. You mentioned that you had an MRR of 15K right now, but that is from basically performing the service that you created a SaaS for now. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we're AI and data science team, and we do on-prem solutions as well for the fintechs and banks, and pretty much integrate various AI APIs and data science. But we also built our own product and got VC backing. So kind of fintech VC, and went through incubator and got inbounds. And so far, our product POCs has been coming from the inbound, and there is a pool. And yeah, we got quite good names already straight up. Like I'm talking about industry leaders like Crypto.com, like Verif, CoinSpade, and banks. So there is a big problem, but yeah. So yeah, that's the answer.
Okay. So when it comes to your ICP, you mentioned like a pool of 5,000 people or like companies, or like how have you defined this as of now?
We're targeting only European companies for now, due to our tech stack and just proximity. So I got onto Export Apollo, and then I enriched them with Clay, and then I merged with my Sales Navigator and run through Cloud to create the proper list, and then enriched once again with Clay, and I got like 4,700 compliance people. So within the fintech, based on the size. So, but obviously there are many verticals there within the fintech as well. So there's like crypto story, banks, neobanks, payments, identity verifications, even to some extent other payment processing providers, KYB, KYC. So all of that is within there, but I was just pulling out the compliance people of the European companies within that sector.
How large is the average company?
Was targeting exactly because we've been also approached by Citibank and stuff like this, but for our capacity, it's we're really small, so we decided to go towards the smaller teams up to like 300 people, because there's normally what we do, we pretty much solve one person's problem in one particular team. There's always someone going on all the regulatory pages and trying to keep like let's say internal knowledge base up to date, because like given if you're like doing KYB or KYB, let's say someone approaches and applies on your platform, so you need to verify what's happening on their side. We also do like functionally how can you align with them as well? So we do cross risk checking of your regulatory stance within this market and there, so the ones who apply. So obviously we target this compliance department, but even there's like 2 or 1 person who goes and creates this regulatory knowledge. So these people could be everywhere because this space is really updating. We pretty much just want to find this particular person that has this particular problem. I think that would be the main thing first out of all of that list. And yeah, obviously, as you go to events, and we've been winning like fintech events like in Germany, in Latvia, in Finland, like part of also a Swiss incubator. So you hear pull from everywhere, but obviously, yeah, the runway in that regards is also limited. So point is to identify who got the money and who can pay first and who is like hot to pay.
Okay. The way that I would think about it, Roman, I'm just making some assumptions because you're saying that you've been using HeyReach as well. So you've been doing automated outbound on LinkedIn, among other things, to this audience.
Yeah, just started last week actually with that. But so far we have 500 warm, and we've been going to the events already for 1 year, and obviously been in the industry, so there has been enough warm interest already. And what we do with them, which I send you the link, we kind of onboard them into early community, and then we have market interviews with them, product interviews, give them the tool, and see if they would like to pay for that. And so far, like there is an interest, like 50% interest to pay. So for the tool. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So let me give my 2 cents on how you can just optimize things with HeyReach or whatever tool that you want to use on the front end with LinkedIn, and then we can move into basically the conversion parts with the other guys after her. But so you have, and this is perfect, by the way, Roman, like you have a specific problem for a specific avatar that we're trying to filter out here, and you have a specific tool, like doing a specific process, setting it up. So if you streamline that and think the congruency of everything, if you can then just go ahead and have, like you set up think a user manual of how to use your tool and what type of outputs that creates. And then you basically give some, like you can spill some of the ingredients without spilling the whole recipe in terms of how the tool is set up. So basically how they can do these things more automated. Where what I'm thinking, like if I put myself in their shoes, then if you were to reach out to me and you came to me in an approach where I don't see that you're trying to sell me anything on the front end because you just send me blank connection requests. And then when you then message me, you message me something like, Melas, I see you're working in this. I just made this guide for some clients that I had who were working on this process too. And then you just drop the guide. And then you do nothing. You let it wait for like 5 to 7 days. And then you send another follow-up message if they haven't replied, did you check it out? Nothing more than that. If you can set up such a system, and the guide that you create is basically a user manual into how to use your tool and how to do that process. And then in the bottom of that guide and like throughout the guide, then you basically pitch you want to just use the tool directly, then book a call here or look at whatever the next essential step in that funnel would be. Then you have a really, really streamlined and nice way that you on autopilot can have that outbound going for you without necessarily just spray pitches everywhere, because you would just get it to naturally ascend. That's how I would go about the outbound.
Really quick comment here, because if you see the campaign private access, we kind of say onboarding campaign, and idea is to convert on that link and of course on the call, and it's 2-step discovery to demo call and then conversion 50%, whatever. So long kind of sales process to that extent. What you're saying is so we actually build a VSL. It's not there, but the product instructions, or so to say manual, is a VSL. I was thinking as maybe lead magnet in that particular case. First touch is the links across different databases of different regulations. That's kind of as well the concern and issue for many companies to find data.
Yeah. The issue which I see with it, Roman, is that if you come from a cold perspective, then again try to put up the mirror and set yourself in the lead's shoes here. Because if you get a message which is, "Hi, I've been working on this problem," and then they see a video, and the video is like, as you say, a VSL, like demoing the solution and stuff, it just feels way more like you're in a sales funnel immediately, rather
Yeah.
than if you flip it and you make it into, and it doesn't need to be that you change everything in the VSL. It's just if you write it in a text format and in a guide which kind of looks like it's an internal SOP in the company, then it's more so received as something that they are consuming, not that they're being sold something
Yeah.
when they're reading
So-
it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what stage do you put them in front of that type of like resource which is meant to directly pitch them instead of educating them.
Yes, thank you. Just really final comment, because that we thought, okay, here's our tool. We know you check for regulations. Here's our tool. Take it for free. Tell us what you think about it if there is an interest. Instead of like selling, we're actually giving them access. I don't know, how do you think about that?
Yeah, the thought is at least in the right direction. I would be interested to see the numbers in that when you run it for a while, because again, the biggest issue that you will face there is just saturation of that method in itself, because it's a long time ago since people started saying, "Oh, you get free access," or "Oh, you get this," like kind of as you're giving something which is an obvious, like basically an obvious first step to ascending to buying something of you. If you on the flip side can make it look like networking, that's the process which I'm trying to describe. That if I message you on LinkedIn after we've been connected for a week with just I just saw like I just made this for some of my clients. I saw you also work in the sector, so it might be interesting for you. A link, and then it looks like an SOP. Then it looks like it's genuinely something that you made to solve the problem, not to set them into like a sales process. Even though the content is the same, it's just the perception of it and how the user is already receiving the same type of outreach.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I just wanted to add to that as well. It's what Lasse said, is that we have this saturation curve of marketing initiatives, where people, as soon as people start to see, okay, I know what this is about, like get a free demo. It's basically a disguised sales pitch. Get a free account is basically upgrade, because you have very limited, let's say, use of the free account or tool, because it's limits to it. If people get to know the format, the messaging, the thing, and basically the packaging, basically we achieve saturation or diminishing return on that initiative overall. So if you can have something that feels kind of new, the thing that we basically address is, if people can see through what you're trying to do, people will immediately start to be sales resistant. They will push you out because they know that it's the same thing. Hey, do you have 15 minutes to jump on a call? It's basically, why should I spend my time and 15 minutes or even 30 to just sit there and you pitch me? There needs to be something in it for me. So
what if we do like because we have AI model, so I plug the website of the company, of the prospect automatically. We do the risk assessment, right, and provide the regulatory report. So based on their certain risk, and we just show the regulations that are relevant to them in this report. One of the ideas of that lead magnet was like actually to send them this report already straight up at the first touch through the massive outbound. Yeah, 5,000 reports, but for us it's just like credits, so it's nothing.
Yeah. That's a good idea. So the initial thing is, what can you deliver someone for free with quote unquote no strings attached that is valuable to them? That highlights a thing in terms of the need for them. It makes them aware of a potential solution to a problem that they have, where it's basically you not explicitly saying, hey, buy my stuff. And that's ultimately the rule of thumb when it comes to creating content that is valuable in a, we give content and value first to build the relationship. And if you, through that content at some level, either become conscious or go about a problem, about a solution, about our solution, and that's solving the problem that you have, the doors are wide open. But ultimately, when we do lead magnets and content, it is how can you give something for free and tell them how they potentially can solve something without kind of giving them or spilling all the secrets. That's at least a nice, let's say, lens to have when you want to, let's say, go through the ideation phase. But I think what Lasse said in terms of create a series of content that basically illustrates how someone can perform something or do a certain action, embedding your tool as, let's say, the way to do it, but not the guide being your product, but being solving something. A way for what you just said is create a guide for how people can do research about what regulation they should take into account, and then just have that tool be linked. So step one, go to this tool, go do this, this, and that, and that's a way to embed something like that into first message, into the cold approach, or any sort of, let's say, outbound.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we also have the chatbot. I was thinking we can, because the chatbot, we can integrate that on our landing page and just send them the direct link to the chatbot. And yeah, they can just chat with the chatbot and ask questions that are relevant to them based on the already report that we have done through the guide. So kind of due to, like, the thing about this product is that the product is innovative enough, so the market is interested, but it's already catching up, and we're targeting kind of sophisticated also market. And obviously there's like various tools how to attract the market. Yeah, so for me, it's just to understand exactly like where's the money is first out of all this list, out of all those ICPs, which companies are ready to pay. So for that, I was thinking to do outbound at scale and to identify where's the stronger pool and where I can get to the money first with shortest cycle, where I can see the money coming, right? So this was kind of, what do you think just when I say that?
I think it makes sense. I think the only, if there's 4,700 contacts that you were able to find through Apollo, Sales Navigator, Clay, and you run that a couple of times to qualify them, if you're running outbound, let's say just on email, on LinkedIn, you can reach out to 800 a month per LinkedIn profile. So with 4,700, you have quite a lot of number of months until you've gone through. If you have yourself, your co-founder, maybe a couple of other people, basically you reduce the time until you've gone through the full list. If the dangers of, let's say, going hard to shorten the sales cycle when an audience is this small, and this is based on what I've seen since 2016, 2017, when the first automation tools from LinkedIn came up, is that if you go hard, you burn the bridges, meaning it's hard for you to recoup the goodwill in the market for something. Hence why, for example, because you want to have sustainability in marketing, right? Like you don't want to do something that works for 4 months and then you have to reinvent the wheel again, because then you're basically back to scratch and you have to figure out your entire go-to-market motion again. So how can you then instead do something where, yes, you give the option of a short sales cycle to those that are in the 3 to 5% that are ready now? Because at any given moment, 3 to 5%-ish, depending on industry to industry and depending on problem and solution, are ready to, let's say, take the step. So if you were to create a guide, let's say for the tool in terms of mapping regulation. So let's do that because it's very tangible. Yeah. If you create a tool for that and you create a guide for how to use that tool, which again, the tool is free. And that tool and that guide serves as a way to give people value, to identify the problem that they have because, oh, damn, we didn't know about this one regulation. How should we address it? That's when your solution, either a service or the SaaS, comes in, and the follow-up to those guys, like the 5 to 7, maybe 10 days after you sent it over, like, hey, Roman, I see that you're working within this industry. We recently created a guide for how to map out important regulation that every company needs to think of and be compliant with. I thought I could send you the guide and access to the free tool here, or the guide here, something like that. And 5 to 10 days later, you can say, hey, Roman, we're able to find some new regulations that you weren't aware of, something like that. Again, you don't take my exact words, but you get the approach. If someone then say, yes, we found a couple, and that's an amazing way for you to say, Oh, that's amazing. Like, would you do a call, or would you mind me taking a look to give you some pointers in terms of how to maybe find more for the company given the tool, or just in general your expertise? So it's a gateway to get them in, but you have that initial first step to build goodwill, because we as human beings, we have reciprocity bias. So if I do a favor to you, you're more likely to return the favor if I ask you. And that's what we do to not burn the bridges of those 4,700 individuals, to then still give them an option to, let's say, close fast, but have the opportunity to actually nurture that relationship over time. That's at least my final, let's say, add-on to this.
Thank you.
Well, I haven't given my take at all.
Yeah,
but
I was about to ask.
I've been looking, and I want to tell you something actually, Roman. About a few months ago, when I say a few months, I really mean like 8 months ago, something like that. A company approached me actually with a whole application proposal thingy to build a platform just like yours, but for other stuff. 1 second. My phone's going off. And I basically put together this whole strategy for how to market to your ICP. And I don't know why you don't have this on your website, but like everything that everyone was just saying on this call, they're right, from what they're looking at. But you need to be going after asset managers, like people who are managing hedge funds. Those are the people who are going to need this platform. And everybody else, like stock traders you have on here, small banks, fintechs, you're going after like little fish. And the way you go after people that are asset managers to use a platform like this is giving them like a way to have an edge on always knowing what regulation, what compliance is coming, but they're going to want to be very interested in this, and educating those people on how they can always be ahead is actually really easy, because this product specifically is in huge demand right now. But for asset managers, for people that trade stocks, they don't care. If you want me to be honest with you, I don't think they care about regulations or anything like that. They're just trying to make money. Small banks, I don't even think they care, to be honest. They should, right? But I don't think they care enough to sign up. And I don't think they care enough for you to be on LinkedIn. Like, I went through this already with an asset manager, like I think it's GDPR or something like that, right? Governance, risk, compliance, something like that. Okay. That was some of the people that were working with me. And I basically just saw that, like, I've already tested this because I've already worked with clients that or a client specifically trying to sell what you're selling, except what we were selling was a different type of system where we would scrape the different regulation sites for updates and stuff like that. So basically you just combine the automation that I built and put it into a platform. But now the way you got to market it, they're on the right track as far as putting together, lead magnets that look as if you're showing them, here's how I'm ahead, or here's how I knew about this before this happened or something like that. Right. But it's going to be kind of tough to market this for these people you have. I think you need to go after asset managers. That's honestly my best advice. Go after people who are managing it.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on you would figure out whether these, like, the thesis that you have, Roman, is that there is someone in these companies who are doing these manual processes. So if you figure out they don't care, if you figure out on a general basis that they don't care that much, then I would definitely look at other segments that you could look at as well. That you could
like
go
compliance managers, like the guy that I was working with.
Yeah, I just say that when we pitched this, we heard about capital markets and asset managers, and there's complexities within this. The thing is, you hear so much different data and kind of demand. But since Roberto, you said you tried, targeting maybe a compliance guy that is on the salary and has less, let's say, incentive. Because it's a lot about risk mitigation, whereas you presenting it from the angle, okay, it's an upside, so monetization rather than mitigation of downside. It could kind of make sense to go and tap into that market, but kind of through a lot of regulations that are in the space coming out, people in the space know that, and possibly asset managers already have legal advisors advising them and la la la, you know, so they kind of know a bit about the market already before it happens. So who actually needs it on a daily basis is that guy in that fintech company that like presents this internal report to the compliance departments about everything. So this is just a hypothesis, but thank you. I will definitely like try to test yours as well. Yeah.
Marcelo, you were starting on something.
Yeah, well, you all gave lots of advice here, but I would like to add something here. There is very simple. I was taking a quick look into your LinkedIn profile, and I saw that you have lots of potential to improve your content generation here, because you can transform your LinkedIn into a lead machine. You know, the thing that the small tweak that I would do here in your content, you're not like you're not posting content to regarding to the fear of those guys, because in the banking market, maybe they have a lot of fear to be to have some kind of penalty or something like that. And I would produce some content around this this thematics or these themes, because you can always try to solve the problem with your product indirectly. So if you post content speaking about take a look at this new regulation that came up in some country or something like that, you can try to acquire this guy that is constantly thinking about this thing, you know. So I don't know, just a small tip for you here. Maybe you can do this tweak and get a little more quality leads for your customer machine, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Based on this content strategy, a question to Roberta, like, since you tried compliance ICP, assumption was that they're not really hanging out on LinkedIn that much. Which channels?
They're on Twitter.
Like,
they're on Twitter. You're gonna find these people on X and LinkedIn, actually.
Yeah, I agree. X is a strong channel too.
I mean, let me think. So, yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you're going to want to have a newsletter talking about compliance and regulations without always plugging your, you want to basically have your platform have its own newsletter to give people constant updates.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to ask as well, because we have technical capability. We already do sentiment analysis of all the news and aggregate all the news. So idea was maybe we just deploy or open source, or just like open the app or upload it on like App Store for, I don't know, $5. Like all the news are around RegTech regulations in Europe in all languages relevant to your company. Like kind of simple, smaller product lead magnet that could lead to, yeah.
And you're charging $500 a month?
So far we have validated. No. I mean, for that would be like maybe, I don't know, $19 or $10. But for personalized, we charge from 500 to 2,000 for now. 2,000 is on-prem solution with other as well features. But 500 has been validated. People are ready to pay for purely regulatory horizon scanning that is relevant to them. Yeah, I'm sharing some alpha, like, I guess. But anyway, yeah. So for this guy who goes on all the portals and checks, he's ready to pay 500 to get it all automated.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I think ultimately at the end of the day, you're at a stage where you need to test probably both the audiences, so the ICPs, both the compliance people, but also test to see if the asset managers are, I say, interested. Because I think ultimately at the end of the day, incentive is the most important thing. Like if people have the incentive to solve this and they're not, let's say, fearful of what people in the company will say if they, let's say, take an initiative and it doesn't work. But there's probably plenty of other things that could go into, but we are closing up on the time that we have for today. But do you have one final question for the four of us, Roman, before we end this case?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me opportunity for the ask and final question. It was my previous question, which wasn't answered actually. So because we have this technical capability to do like kind of newsletter or news aggregator or RegTech regulations and dump in there as like easy product. So you just log in, you upload your company, and you get into your inbox weekly personalized news all over about compliance, RegTech.
I think my take on that is, one, how do you get people to sign up for it, and will it be worth the effort it takes to just create it and operate it? Because again, let's say that it takes you, let's say, 5 hours or max 10 hours with all planning and everything to get it published on an entire setup done. If you were to, let's say, that the annual rate for doing something like that would be $250 an hour. So it's $2.5K that you basically spend in alternative cost setting it up. If it's a subscription at $19 a month, you need to have quite a lot of people to sign up for it. How are you going to get them, and how is the math going to add up? So the question is, going back to what Roberto said, which is, I truly believe that having some sort of authority positioning, where it's a newsletter about regulation, all about regulation, and that makes it easier to look at it as a sales funnel, where if you were to promote something, a newsletter that is free is a good way to build authority and credibility and positioning, and also build distribution for your software company, so that the regulation updates about regulation is one way that is for free in the newsletter. It's going to be general. And then if you want specific, it's an upsell, and that's just directly to the normal SaaS, which is $500 a month. I think simplicity is one key here as well, because if you stretch yourself thin, you basically have the I can't recall his name, but there was this guy that wrote the peanut butter manifesto about Yahoo years back, and it shocked the entire software world because Yahoo spread themselves too thin, like putting peanut butter on a sandwich too thin, and basically everything crumbled. So I think at this stage, less is more. So try to keep it simple. That's would at least be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Let's move on.
Okay, I appreciate your attention, guys, and the insights.
Of course.
You're welcome.
Then the best of luck, Roman.
Thank you very much. You too, guys.
Then he is off. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to stop my screen share. And what I want to do is, we have 2 more minutes. It doesn't look like there's too many people still sticking around. So what I think we're going to do then is that we're actually going to wrap it up. We were thinking about doing a Q&A at the end, but it's let's actually see. Like,
feel free to comment if you're devastated that Harold just said that we won't do a Q&A, and that you want to see a couple of minutes.
If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. Then Lasse put me in my right place. So yeah.
You know what's even more awkward than me putting you in that place? That is that if no one actually says that they're devastated to not get a Q&A now.
Yeah. I can't see any other questions or comments since Edward at 52, so like 7 minutes ago.
Let's give it a little minute. Maybe people need time to type.
Yeah, that's one. We're a bit behind, and people need time to type.
Mm.
And also,
All
it would
right.
be interesting to hear in general what people think about this as well. But then again, if no one asks questions in a minute or two, we're probably going to wrap it up.
I like that guy's tool.
Yeah, it's big in Europe, especially. Like there's regulation coming right and left all the time. So like GDPR, which you mentioned, Roberto, there is one additional one that comes now. I think it is already come. That is, from my understanding, is even stricter.
We got one question coming in now. It doesn't show up in our chat yet, but from Abrar asking, isn't too many AI tools complicating the sales process? Harold and Roberto, what's your takes on that?
Depends on your sales process, right? But the truth is you obviously want to have less tools, right? You can't, if you're using all those tools and they're working for you, then it's not complicated. But if you're using tools that aren't really working, then you're overcomplicating it. Because usually you only really need one tool or two. I mean, you really just need a foundation, really. Most people don't have one, so that's the big problem. Is that they don't have a CRM, a way to send emails, a way to send messages. As long as you have stuff like that, very simple. Trying all the different tools is one thing, but using the right ones for you is another.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the same thing as well in terms of like if you have the more complexity you add in, the more things can break. And if you at the end of the day you don't need too much, and if you can set it up in a way where, let's say, you can kill two birds in one stone, so you have one tool that can execute several functions, that might be worth it. But then again, I think the most important thing is, okay, if you look at first principles, what are the things that you actually need to have done? And if you can get those done, like try to do them as simple as straightforward as possible. Similar to what I said with Roman, like if you add another product in a portfolio, it's going to add complexity in terms of client acquisition channels. Everything is going to multiply. So there's double the maintenance, just in terms of headspace and resources in terms of operations.
Hey guys, I must leave now. I have to serve my customers here. And I'd like to thank you a lot for everything, for this chat. It was very nice meeting you all and meeting the audience too. And thank you very much for the invitation. Lasse, Harald, Roberto, hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista,
Marcelo.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right.
There's one final question. I think we can take that. It's from Emil. I predict an explosion. Content gut. Floating inboxes and messaging boxes. How do you see this?
I'm not sure what you're asking for specifically, Emil, there.
Roberto was nodding.
Emil, that's already happening today. So just take a look at how people post content, how people, I'm already getting flooded every day with messages and stuff. I'm already getting emails every single day. I checked my spam folder the other day and I saw like a crazy amount of people trying to reach out to me with AI generated emails, templates and stuff. It's already here today and it's only going to get worse because everyone's trying to do the same thing, right? So will artwork come to a slowdown in a year? No, because people will have their own platform in a year.
What do you mean by their own platform in here? Now I need to be the devil's advocate and do the follow-up question.
Well, my point being is people will be able to have their community, their audience, their everything in one place for their company where people can just enter and be a part of that community. You won't really need to do outreach like before in the past. It'll be much different. You see the way you have social media platforms are created today. Those are going to be very, very powerful. So being on social media, having a personal brand, and attracting people into your platform, your community, what you're trying to do. I think a lot of the, B2B SaaS platforms are probably going to be done for. I mean, not probably, I mean, they are, because a lot of them are one very thin layer on the whole actual like use cases of business. Like I've seen some people, like, I know my buddy that runs Lead Shark, for example. Let's just say I'm not gonna pick on him exactly, like, because his use case is useful and up to a certain extent, but that layer of what he actually provides, if LinkedIn or some other platform does it, it's just very thin, right? So it can be replaced very quick. So a lot of the other tools like Superhuman or Fathom, there's a whole bunch of these tools that join your Zoom call and give you the whole, thing. Like all these little thin things, they're going to disappear because anyone can just make them themselves. So I think our work is going to increase because we're going to be able to help more people build their own platforms. That's what's coming, is AI builders building platforms for their clients.
And now we have
Scar in there.
the guy Rasmus actually commenting. but to be careful what you say, Roberto. Now, I also see this, and communities, and funnily enough, Lost and I had a conversation about this just an hour before we jumped on, really, in terms of how is AI going to change the way we do work in business and software and services in general. And the connection, owning distribution, and having, let's say, a closer circle is going to be on the uprise. But I think that this is a nice way to, let's say, end on the final, let's say, notes to think about in terms of how things are going to look. I think it's going to be hard to say. No one really has the looking glass to see how is things going to look in a year, in 5 and in 10, but it probably is going to be completely different from what it is today. But with this, I hope this was interesting to do for you guys again. Hopefully you guys listening in, watching, found this useful. If you came in late, you want to see the recording, the recording will probably be available here very shortly on this event page. But I think with this, we're going to wrap it up. So with that,
Perfect.
Everyone watching, we wish you a great rest of the day, great evening, great morning, wherever you are.
Good night.
Take care.
See you.
Bye-bye.